Mark Ludwig from the Allegan Conservation District, December 6th, 2013, and we're out here for a final visit to our cover crop demonstration plot because I just can't stay away from this place. And as you can see in here, it has been a cold December already. And here's a few of the things we want to see happen. You can see the radishes are starting to die back. Got some ryegrass in here. Looks pretty good still, but this may not make it either if we have a real open winter. And you know, ryegrass is not always hardy. Our hosts actually mowed the lawn in here, so it's a little easier to see what's going on. If you haven't seen our other videos yet, the place was planted with a little drill, and we don't have a lot of time to get the settings quite right, so sometimes we're a little thick, sometimes we're a little thin. Here we've got oats and radishes. The oats looking pretty well dead. Radishes on their way out. There's one there split open by the mower. You can really see these things are about 90% water, so when they die they rot and stink and pretty well disappear, leaving behind a beautiful macropore. Got crimson clover in this one, also looking kind of rough, but may make it. Sometimes hardy, sometimes not. Ryegrass and crimson clover. Ryegrass, vetch, clover. The hairy vetch will almost certainly make it. That's very hardy. You can see we did grow some awful big radishes. We had heifer manure on this thing. There's my hand for comparison. So that's what I heard this term the other day. It's a trophy radish right there. You take that one and you take that one down to the cafe and show your fellow neighbors just how big a radish you can grow. That's the new thing. I don't know what Freud would say about that, but I guess we'll just leave that alone. Here's our ryegrasses. God, I love annual ryegrass. Just look at that stuff. Holy cow. Here's one thing you can really notice. Here's the ryegrass. You can see we've got a few weeds in there that came on. Let's kind of look beyond that. We had some tiling done on this land, also in wheat, but God, look at all those weeds that grew out there and went to seed. We're in here, many less weeds. Yeah, it's lamb's quarters coming through. We had a great selection of weeds to choose from. In here, lots of winter annuals, yellow rocket. Here we've got triticale. This didn't come up real well, which is it kind of surprised me. Didn't do all that well. It's usually a real winner. Good old grain rye, got nothing wrong with that. And you know, if it could take the winters of the Russian steppes, you can bet that'll be up and at 'em again next spring. Cayuse white oats. And actually, compared to some of those other oats, that's still pretty green. Should still be dead here shortly. This is black oats, soil saver black oats. A little different species, more of a subtropical oat, but also surprisingly still somewhat green. But should be real dead. These black oats, let's see if I can get right on the cusp and maybe zoom in here. There you go. It's a little hard to see, but the black oats really put on a lot more biomass. Which was surprising. It's a smaller seed, so I think it was probably even ended up planted thicker. Still seemed to do better than the white oats. Very intriguing this year. Here we've got winter barley. A little bit of tip burn on that, but we expect that to be back. Here's a spring barley. And that will probably be dead. As you can see, it did flower. And giving it a squeeze here, I don't even feel a lot of dough in that, so might have been too cold to pollinate or something by the time it was done. Well, here we've got sun hemp. That's a tropical legume. And there's the stem for that, and that has been good and dead for a while. Basically completely disappeared. Also didn't germinate very well, so it wasn't real thick. See, everything else did well with it. Here we got winter peas. I think I really found with this drill it didn't put the bigger seeds in well. Well, those few little bits of ryegrass that came through are in there are doing real well. Also another winter pea. Here we've got straight crimson clover, and boy, look at that. Look at that nitrogen, boys and girls. What do you think? 100 pounds of nitrogen to the acre? How much money do we make on that? Here's a good old red clover. That doesn't look too bad either. You can pretty well guarantee that'll be back up. That does just fine up there in the UP in cold climate. Here's our radish patch. Again, probably in too tight, so we didn't grow those trophy radishes quite as much. But boy, lots of biomass. This first one was a daikon type. This one's an oilseed type. We did grow some pods, but squeezing those babies, I don't feel any seed in there, so I think we were all right. Did I mention it's 20 degrees today? Groundhog radish, looking good. And this is tillage radish. That's actually a trademarked term of Cover Crop Solutions, not just a generic term. Here we've got Phacelia tanacidifolia. Can't stop saying that either. Still nice and green, supposed to be hardy to 18 degrees, and boy, we're bumping right up against that right now. So I do not expect that back. And here we've got some dwarf Essex rape, as I call it, the poor man's radish. Cheaper, smaller seed. What's not to love? Here we've got turnips, and by golly, we did make some actual turnips. Yeah, I was kind of wondering if an ambitious cash cropper couldn't make himself a crop of turnips or rutabagas or something like that, and just in time for the turnip eating season. Here we have buckwheat, and that has pretty well disappeared. Excellent soil conditioner. And we did make some seed. Now, some of my friends at Extension get a little worried about buckwheat taking off and becoming a weed. I guess I figure any weed that's that good a soil conditioner I would tolerate. And it does die pretty effectively with herbicides, or tillage for that matter. We've got grain sorghum, long dead. It has been a pretty aggressively cold fall. This was millet, also dead as a doorknob. And here we have sunflowers. Now, we did not buy sunflower seed from a seed dealer. We bought it at the birdseed store. So the agronomic characteristics were not known up front, and it sure doesn't look like we set a bit of seed in that this year. This was another little experiment we did. This is grain amaranth, tiny seeds. And again, sure doesn't look like we set any seed in here, so this was our attempt to demonstrate potential double crops. Mung beans also didn't germinate very well. Most of this, what you see, is lamb's quarters that came up in there. Cowpeas also not much germination, and soybeans not much germination. And I'm going to blame the drill for that. This is kind of the tail end of our patch here, where I just blended up all the leftover ryegrass, and boy, again, look at that. Look at that field of ryegrass. I think we're going to get the backhoe out and we're going to dig that up this spring. We're going to see what happened. As long as we don't hit the new drain tile in there, I think we'll be fine. But man, I am very excited to see where all that went down. And this had some other things in with it, but it was mostly ryegrass. Now actually, I'll just zoom out here. And out in the field, over the new tiles, fellas went ahead and drilled some leftover cereals and radishes. So until next spring, I think we're done, because man, it is kind of cold out here to be making movies. Thanks to everybody who came out and looked at the cover crop plot. We will take a walk through here in the spring, so stay tuned. Bye-bye.